It's 6:30 a.m. and I'm trudging through the New York City snow. I've been home from the Peace Corps in Swaziland now for about a year, and I call Nomsa on my way to work. When she picks up, I can hear the roosters crowing in the background, which creates a real longing for my old community of Busan. She answers the same way every time with this excited, "Hi, my girl," and this time, before I can greet her back, she tells me she has some news to share. She's deciding to run for the inner council in Busan. At first, that comes as a shock because there's never been a woman in that community before who's ever run for this position. But I can hear the excitement in her voice, and so the only thing I can think of to say in that moment is, "When are the elections? And I'll see you then." It's 2003 when I moved to Swaziland as a Peace Corps volunteer doing HIV and AIDS impact mitigation. And it's 2003 when I meet Nomsa sitting under the marula tree in the center of the community. She's wearing a shirt that says "doggy style" written across the front of it, and when she smiles, I can see the space where her front tooth used to be. Her smile comes as a real comforting contrast to the confused looks I had been getting as the first volunteer in that community. And Nomsa turned to me on that day and she says, "If you're here to help, I'd love to help you." So from that day forward, the two of us are inseparable. We spent almost every day together for the next 2 years. And what we managed to accomplish at that time still amazes me to this day. We started a non-formal education school for orphans and vulnerable children. And what began with 2 children under a tree using a pit latrine as our chalkboard ended up with 140 kids and a brick schoolhouse that we built from the ground up, which is still running now, 11 years later. But that's not what this story is about. It's 2008 and it's my first trip back to Swaziland since the Peace Corps. I will continue to return every year for the next 8 years. Nomsa and I are standing on the edge of her homestead where we can see of all of Busan below us. The Mkonvo River is flowing and the hills and the mountains are covered in lush greens. Nomsa turns to me and she says, "Cece, today is the day of the days." And then she grabs my hand and she puts it on the underbelly of her chin and she says, "See, I even shaved." And I pull back and I go, "Go, gross," because we love joking with each other. Today is nomination day, so for Nomsa and me, it is the day of the days. I have returned to Swaziland because it is my home now. And I have returned to Swaziland because Nomsa is attempting to do something that no woman in this community has done before. She's attempting to run for the global position, which is community developer, something she has technically already been doing for the past 5 years without title or recognition. We leave her homestead and we walk down towards the community center, weaving our way through the dirt paths. We pass Babi and Gambule's home on the left, and we pass Lobile's home on the right, and Malusi's home, and everyone is greeting Nomsa as we're walking. When we get to the center of the community, under the tree, the women are seated to the left and the men are seated to the right. So we go and we take our place, and I can sense that Nomsa is filled with both fear and excitement. She needs a minimum of 10 hands to be raised in order to be nominated with her name on the ballots. 10 people who do not fear change. Nomsa needs 10 people who are not afraid to publicly stand up and show everybody that they are willing to vote for a woman. The chief stands up and he begins the nomination process. People must call out who they choose to nominate. And we hear names being shouted left and right and arms raising, and seems about a half hour goes by and maybe 6 or 7 men have already been nominated, but Nomsa is not one of them. The chief gets up one final time and he says, "Is there anyone else who would like to be nominated or who would like to nominate?" And we hear this quiet voice from the left say, "Nomsa Masugu." The chief demands that the person stand because he can't hear, and Nomsa's best friend, Sibongile, stands up and she shouts, "Nomsa Masugu!" And I laugh because she says it so loudly that it reverberates all throughout the whole area. And Nomsa slowly stands up. And the chief says, "Who will support this woman?" And we wait. And it is the longest minute of my life, and nobody's hands are raising. And he asks again, "Who will support this woman?" And Nomsa stands very patiently waiting. And slowly I begin to see hands rising. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I begin to notice that these hands are not just women. There are men raising their hands as well. I see Babi and Gambule, and I see Begi and Mandla raising their hands in support of a woman. And Nomsa at the end has 7 women and 4 men who have raised their hands. That is 7 women and 4 men who are not afraid to vote for a woman. That is 7 women and 4 men who are looking at Nomsa and saying, "We see you. We see what you have done." The story doesn't end there. Nomsa's name gets put on the ballot, and she continues to campaign throughout the community. She truly believes that dialogue is the way to create change, and so she sits down with groups of women and she shares her stories. She believes that when she shares her stories, that it will make them feel safe to share their stories in return. Her platform is vulnerability. Her platform is storytelling. Her platform is her truth. Nomsa does not follow the yellow brick road. She carries a machete and she whacks her way, creating her own path. It is election day, and Nomsa loses with 56 votes. Nomsa has 56 votes. As we're walking home, I turn to Nomsa and I say, "How are you feeling?" expecting her to feel sad. And she stops and looks directly at me and she says, "Cece, this is not the end of the road. This is just the beginning." And it occurs to me in that moment that for her, this was never about winning. She had already won years ago. In Swaziland, they have a greeting for each other, Sawubona. It's what you say when you're walking down the path and you want to give somebody a quick hello. But its literal meaning is, "I see you." That is exactly what I learned in Swaziland. Swaziland taught me how to see and to be seen. And in the small community of Busan, inspiration chose me, and inspiration's name was Nomsa.